Good Friday afternoon, evening, morning. Could it be morning?
Some time of the day.
It could be. I guess somewhere in the far west Pacific, it still could be morning.
Hey, Hawaii. I don't know what's the time there.
I don't know either. Hawaii. That sounds so nice.
But do they make conferences there? With paid expenses?
Should we have a conference there?
No, I don't want to organize a conference. I want somebody to pay expenses for me to speak at the conference. Yes, That's what I want.
I don't know.
Let's not get confused.
No, let's not get confused. Speaking of confused, if you don't know who we are, my name is Darren Pope. This over here to my right is Victor Farsick, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. Thomas, how are you doing? And Vladislav, you are here as well.
Hey.
Thanks for showing up live with us today. If you've never listened to DevOps Paradox, you can listen to wherever you listen to your fine audio. We are pretty much everywhere. Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Google, you name it, we're there.
We're like a disease. We spread around everywhere. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Why not? Let's just get into it today. Actually, before we get into it, the podcast this week, I don't even remember what it was about. Jeez. I had this on the show notes, and I don't even write it down. It's like, why am I not even thinking about this?
Hey,
I've been.
Are we going to start switching roles? I'm the one who never remembers.
Golly, it's like I know there was a podcast this week because I didn't get it done until Tuesday night, and it releases Wednesday morning. What was it? Oh yeah, Kubernetes API is becoming omnipresent. We were talking about that. I don't remember all the details. So, crossplane. That was where we talked more about crossplane, but not specifically about crossplane. That was this episode. Had to look at the notes. I'll do better for next week, I promise. Maybe. What's up, Dominic? How you doing, man? This is what we haven't done yet. Did you bring your drink? Golly.
I'll be back.
Oh my gosh. How long have we been doing this? I'm not going to wait for him. I'm sorry. It's been one of those days. I still have quite a bit to do. He'll be back, but that's fine. While he's getting his drink, you get your drinks. We will, let me get ready to start sharing here because I won't waste time on that. Where is it? There it is. What do you have?
Beer.
Oh, beer. Okay. So you're done now. When we're done here, you're done for the day.
No, I'm not done for the day, but I feel that you're trying to establish some relation between beer and me working. No?
Well, usually you don't drink while you're working.
Okay. That's very nice of you to think. That's very nice of you to think. Cheers to that.
Speaking of a reason not to drink, what about this Gke Autopilot announcement?
Awesome. That's where we are going. One more step towards making it easier and making it more transparent.
This, in the day job, we've been talking about this and trying to figure out, okay, does our product play nicely with this or not? Haven't tested it out yet personally myself. Some people have tried it. It's been okay so far.
Oh, yeah.
Some unexpected side effects. But like when memory has to size up, if you don't size it up, if you don't get it sized right to begin with, and it goes through an auto scaling from a memory or CPU perspective, it's a little interesting, at least for the application that we're using.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're running into right now. I mean, I'm assuming you'd have the same problem with your product as well. If something was to have to resize, not auto scaling from I need more pods, but just auto scaling because I'm going from this size to this size.
Like vertical.
A vertical pod, not a vertical. Yeah, just I need to add more CPU. I need to add more. memory.
Yeah. Vertical pod auto scaling. I never liked that guy. I was never convinced that that's a good idea. But that's me.
Yeah, I'm not totally pro it either, but it's just an edge right now. So it's a matter of figuring out as a vendor, how do we deal with it? But so there's this whole big blog post. They go into lots of words, which I'm not going to do. I want to go into the docs for it. And they compare the two modes, standard mode, which is what we've been used to using, and then the autopilot mode. The key part here is autopilot is regional, appears to be regional only.
Good. Nothing should be zonal anyways. I mean,
right.
If you can be regional, I cannot imagine why you wouldn't, to be honest.
Yeah. But that's the key part there is if you can be regional. So if you haven't architected your app to be regional, which Google does pretty good, their stateful sets are handled regionally anyway. Unlike how AWS deals with EBS volumes, Google doesn't have that same problem. Right?
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's a non-issue at that point. And it just goes through this full list of things. But here's the big one. Pay per pod. We're not paying per node. We are paying per pod.
I mean, if they're managing your cluster, it's in their interest to manage it well, not to have too much waste.
Yeah. And that's the key part there. You can now hire Google to be your SRE for the cost of a pod.
Yeah. And to me, the thing I like the most about it is SLA, basically, that they have SLA for your pods, not for your cluster, right? Cluster is something expected. You know, every cloud vendor gives you SLA for uptime of my virtual machines or what's not. But they give you SLA for your pods as long as they meet certain requirements, and that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. The default, since I came across this first before the SLA, scaling, HPA, and VPA. Okay. We've already made our feelings known about that. But let's get into the unsupported cluster features. So if you still have a requirement for alpha APIs, full stop. Right?
Yeah, you sure. I mean, it would sound fishy if they allow you to, if they give you SLA and allow you to run alphas.
Right. It's been one thing that GKE was a fully managed solution, because it was, especially in comparison to AKS and EKS.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Just GKE prior, what we'll now refer to as standard. But now Autopilot is even more fully managed.
It goes basically, I mean, solidifies management of the cluster, but also it starts diving into management of what is happening inside of your cluster, which is the awesome part.
Yeah. Let's look at this SLA, see if it will come up.
Yeah, here. You see the last one? Autopilot pods in multiple zones.
3 nines.
3 nines?
Holy cow.
I mean, that's a very high figure for something that theoretically they do not control fully, right? It's still your pods.
Yep. And it's got to be less than the Autopilot cluster itself, right? It can't be 4 nines because it's just 3.5 nines.
Yeah.
If you call that 3.5 nines.
Yeah, exactly.
This is game changing.
Oh, yeah.
I've been recommending to some people, friends on the side that I talk with a lot. They've been primarily AWS. And again, nothing against AWS. AWS, I believe, has pushed the boundaries to get other things happening. But at this point, if you're running pods, let's just call it that for now. You need to be able to run a pod. You need to be moving this to Google. I'm sorry. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that... It's very clear. And basically from the very beginning that nobody goes in a ring with Google on Kubernetes. Kind of like... No. they're dominating that clearly, because Gke, it's clearly better than EKS and AKS. Then we have Google Cloud Run, that none of the others have anything similar to that even, right? Kind of like it's a new category in a way. I mean, not fully, but almost there, right?
Yeah.
And now we have basically SLA for your pods. I mean, come on. They are ahead. They're really ahead. Now, they have also minuscule market share, so we are yet to see how that translates into the market share, but technically, they're ahead.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out these add-ons and if it mattered, but I don't think it matters. I think these are just the general things.
Yeah.
But it gets into, there was something else in the bottom. They go through a lot of examples about just things that are here. No privileged pods. Again, they're managing it. They can't give you privilege.
And, the thing I like about it, beyond the obvious, hey, why wouldn't they manage my stuff instead of me bothering with those things, is that at the same time, they're even, in a way, forcing you to adopt practices that you should be doing no matter who is managing it, right? Kind of like privilege mode. Hey, nobody should run privilege mode, period. Kind of like, that's it. At least not in production. So they're forcing people in a way to go into the right direction, which is also awesome.
Yep. vCPU increments, CPU to memory ratios, all these things. This is a really, really long document. This may be 3 beers, not 1 beer level of reading. I tell you what, to me, this is game-changing. Completely game-changing. Right here, the container runtime default set comp profile is applied by default to all pods in your cluster.
Yeah.
It's just done for you. And
exactly.
this, I've seen again, the initial blog post, which I don't think I have in the notes. I'll make sure they're in the notes before I post them. Here and in some press, it's sort of the joke of, well, even Google has now admitted that Kubernetes is too hard to run, so let us do it completely for you.
I read the thread on Reddit today that starts like that. Hey, look at this. Google is admitting that Kubernetes is too complicated, that it's too complex. In a way, they are admitting that they made a mistake with Kubernetes, which cannot be further away from truth. They're just making it better, and they're taking the work off your hands. That's what they're doing with this. It's not admitting Kubernetes is too complex, because Kubernetes is very complex. Now, let me clarify this. Kubernetes is very complex, and yet Kubernetes is the easiest way to get that feature set that we have with Kubernetes. So any alternative to Kubernetes that would be doing the same thing as Kubernetes is more complex, not less complex. So we can say, yes, Kubernetes is complex, but we can also say that Kubernetes is the least complex solution that gives you those features.
I agree. Dominic brings up a good point, though. Copilot seems to be more honest than Autopilot. I'm not going to disagree too hard on that.
Yeah.
But the pricing is per pod request or pod limit? It's per... Let's find it again.
I'm not sure.
It was here. I thought I read that. Well, where did I read it? I read that somewhere. I thought it was in one of these two documents, and now I don't remember. Wait. Yeah, I can't find it.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
That's a note for the next live stream to check it out.
Yeah. Or is this me? Or is this what you're going to be doing this weekend?
I have 2 things that I have to do. So I'm not sure whether I will be able to this weekend. If not, next week in the worst case scenario. But yes, this is now on top of the list, just after the things that are already in motion.
On the list. Yep. Okay. Anything else to say about Autopilot for right now? This is not something that you can just sit down with in 5 minutes and say, oh, yeah.
No, from my side, this is amazing news. And what now is pending for me to spend days turning it upside down, and then I will have more comments.
Yep. That's a good question. I'm trying to figure out per request or pod limit. Request or limit. I would have to say my gut tells me limit. If you set a limit, because the limit's the higher one, right? That's the ceiling.
Yes.
I would have to say, are they going to reserve it that way? I don't know.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter that much whether it's one or the other, because they're usually relative to each other, right? I don't know, like 20% higher limit or whatever. It really boils down to what the price is. Whether they charge it more expensive based on limit or less expensive based on request ends up the same. But yes, we need to see the pricing.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of, okay, if it's close enough, that means it's a vertical pod auto scale that would happen, right? That'd be a VPA event that happens to go from a 0.5 to a 1, which could cause problems, versus just having the one, set your request and limit both to 1, and then that way the only thing you're potentially dealing with is HPA, which is okay. We're okay with HPA in general.
Oh, yeah.
As long as it doesn't go to 0.
Then, if it's scalable, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on from this, because we could be lost in this, I think, all day. Or the rest of the weekend, probably. Okay, so that was that one. Let me get rid of that one, and let me get rid of this one. Holy cow, 3 nines. I'm going to let that be it. 3 nines for your pod. How can you justify running anything yourself? Can you guarantee 3 nines if you're running your own GKE cluster for your pod?
And I do not know yet pricing and how cheap or expensive that is, but I urge everybody when checking the pricing to include in that mental calculation actually not how cheap or expensive it is as a compute, but to include the human effort that is taken away from you, right?
Yep. Because think about that. What does it take for your organization to even get close to 99, much less 3 nines? Okay. I'm going to move on from there.
Actually, very, very easy. I can answer the question very easy because everybody fakes those numbers.
Okay. Well, that's true. Okay. That's the way to end that one. If you need some lightweight reading for the weekend. This is an amazing read, and it's super deep. If you didn't catch my facetiousness there. This is probably one of the most intense reads I've had in a long time. Basically, it goes through IPv6 versus IPv4 and the things you run into, which I thought this was funny right here, even in his first paragraph, which contributes to Kubernetes' reputation as difficult to operate beyond, here we go, a small cluster size. In other words, about 10,000 machines. His definition of small and my definition of small are very different.
Oh, yeah.
10,000 as small?
And single cluster, not the total number of servers.
Right.
Single cluster.
He had me right here. When he said small clusters being at least around 10,000, I was like, oh, you're kidding me. I've got to read this now because that means he's doing some insanely large things. But anyway, we're not going to go through this. I've already sort of scrolled through it. His site, I will say this, is much prettier than ours, even though it's all, you can tell when non-UI people actually do websites. Because they look like this.
Yeah, and it's much prettier than ours. That's a low bar to pass.
Yeah. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Not what I wanted. It's a good read, but but it's deep. It's like this is one. It's like clear your head and go from there. Okay, next. Upgrading EKS from 18 to 19. 19 went GA last week. Week before last, I think. Somewhere in there. You're muted if you're... Yeah, you are muted. Wait.
Yeah, it's more than that, or I'm going crazy.
No, 19 has been GA, but 19 as EKS has only been GA.
EKS. Okay. EKS, yes, might be.
A week or two. It's not very long.
Yes.
And this is interesting. I think we had run across this at one time and I'd forgotten about it, but he walks through the stories of going from 15 to 16. And we talked about 19 so it had to have been last week because we talked about 19 last week and 15 was going to be dying May, I think. May, June timeframe for them. So all these stories, and then it gets into all the different things that you're doing. So if you're running on AWS, this is probably worth reading and understanding what's going on. I did see a bit of news right before we started, while we were in the countdown, that now AWS config supports all the cluster things, ECS, EKS, all the different flavors are now supported through AWS config as of today. So if you're living in an AWS and you're using AWS config, that's another way you can do things. But anyway, coming back to this, go through and read it. The links obviously will be down in the show notes afterwards today. Even though this is talking specifically about EKS, I think this is good just to understand in general. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, to me, this is many of the things there apply equally to other providers.
Yeah.
Not literally, you look the code and
Yeah.
kind of I can copy and paste the code, but from the logic perspective, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like these of looking at remove beta APIs or support container, all these different things, right? Most of these are just the generic things. Did you read through this part for upgrading EKS with Terraform?
No, I stopped maybe a few
Just
sentences after that, yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't read from here down yet.
Okay. So it goes through, and again, I'm about halfway through this. There's stuff about core DNS and all the other things. So if you're living in EKS and you are not aware of this guy's post, the link will be down afterwards. Okay. Why would you ever want to move away from Heroku?
Because it's on life support.
Ooh, those are fighting words, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about whether it's great or no, but really has no movement that I know of.
Well, especially with Cloud Run being real, with ACI being real.
Exactly.
With Copilot, even from AWS, which takes care of all the dirty stuff for you, being real. Now with Autopilot for GKE being real. The only reason why you would stay at Heroku is you don't want to rewrite your app. That's the only thing I can think.
Exactly. And it's kind of Kubernetes, there were doubts that somebody could pose in the past, like, hey, is Mesos here to stay? Hey, is Docker Swarm here to stay? Hey, is Heroku here to stay? And so on and so forth. And that was a valid question for Kubernetes as well, is here to stay. But now I'm 100% clear convinced Kubernetes is here to stay. So now we know that there is a platform that will exist for years to come. And investing in anything else to me now, it sounds like a waste. Now, if you're on Heroku, for example, and you're not investing in it, it simply runs there, I think that it's perfectly fine. Right? I say the same thing to people using Docker Swarm or Mesos. If you have a platform that works for you and you're not investing in it, why not? But once you start investing, you want to start investing into things that are more likely to stay. Nobody knows what will happen in 5 years or more, right? But for 5 years, Kubernetes here is going to dominate the market. That's certain.
Yep. Did you read this section about I lost time adapting the stack? Did you get this far?
Yes.
Have you ever done this in your life?
Oh my God. I'm embarrassed how often. But yeah, this is of the links we have for today, this is my absolute favorite. I love this article. It's absolutely brilliant and obvious at the same time, because you read through it and kind of, yeah, of course. Kind of like everything is, yes, of course. And yet, many of the things in that article we are all doing, right? Like I added
like
features
this doing
like,
it.
hey,
like we're just doing this over and over again. Hey, we're migrating, so let's add features. What?
Yeah.
How many times have you done that though? It's like, oh yeah, while we're moving, let's just add these couple of things in.
Yeah, let's start using Istio from day one of Kubernetes. First day in production, Istio. Let's do it.
It's this is pretty how you should do it. Don't be too greedy, be humble, and try moving things little by little. Duh.
Exactly. And you will get to the desired destination faster. I think that's the point. Small iterative steps. That's what works. Instead of big bang. Big bang, no. Don't do it.
It's like, putting Christmas decorations up. I could try to grab all the ornaments to put on the tree at one time and just go throw it, or I could take it one by one and have a pretty tree at the end. Or I could have a complete cluttered mess.
Actually, I had that this Christmas. I spent actually probably 90% of my time around the tree trying to unclutter the ball of all those things that I threw together from the storage.
We still haven't taken down our Christmas tree yet. It's February 26th. I'm trying to leave it up until October so we don't have to even take it down.
I bought my partner saw as a present a month ago. She started taking it down. I said, okay, here's a present for you. Chop it.
That's funny. Well, ours is fake, so we just haven't tore it down yet. Okay, anyway, I agree with you. This is probably one of my favorite. Well, this was my favorite until Autopilot came out. But that was Wednesday. So it's like that sort of took everything. For the non-vendor stuff, this was my favorite. Because this story that he told here, we've all done this over the years. We're probably doing it right now to ourselves. So, okay, I ran across this. I found it buried in a link to a meetup. And I have a friend right now that is tasked with creating an IDP, an internal developer platform, not like we need yet another acronym. And I told him, it's like, look, I have no idea about this thing, but take 3 hours, pause everything you're doing, and go take a look at this. And I haven't heard back from him yet. But it's like Heroku, but on top of the tech and tools you use today. I mean, they've got interesting quotes from people like a guy from GitHub. And there was another one there that scrolled by a minute ago. It's based on everything. It integrates with everything. There's two of our favorites. Moving on. Does this feel too good to be true? Yes, it does. But the most interesting thing, it does not. It is a German company, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Just based on the name, but where is it? Pricing. Let's go to pricing. There's a community version. Free forever. 5 users, 1 API token, 4 hours or 1 gig of log size. Unlimited environments. This is free. And then you get into pricing for whatever.
Can anybody make business these days without having community version for free? Even SaaS, right? Kind of. Maybe if you're established name, when you're not established, let's say.
When you're not established, I don't see how you can, or it has to be super cheap, super restrictive, but super cheap, like $5 a month, right? If it's a price of a coffee, I think that's got to be there. Free, I don't know, because they are running hardware and there is a cost there. But if they're slicing things up right, but even here, look at this, 50 deployments a week. Think about this for a second. If you've got a side project that you're working on, or you and a friend are working on a side project, you're probably not pumping out 50 a week.
Yeah. I mean, that's a number of deployments that many big companies did not reach yet.
A lot of big companies haven't reached that 50 in a year, much less 50 in a week.
I was trying to be nice, but you're right.
I mean, if we were saying, it's no. This looks very interesting. I haven't done this yet. You can do a free trial, schedule a demo, spin up your first application. Here, let's do this. So you can connect your infrastructure. Okay, so here, let's look at that for just a minute. We won't spend much more. And then we get into the normal docs. So create an org, identify an application, a simple application. Holy cow, how many times do people try to boil the ocean on their first application instead of just doing a hello world?
Let's start with Oracle database. WebSphere. WebSphere. Let's do WebSphere first.
Anyway, so this connecting up, I mean, this looks really interesting to me. I just haven't had time this week to even spend any time with it. The free trial comes with a pre-connected infrastructure to get started faster. So it sounds like you have to bring your infrastructure, not for the free trial, but this is very interesting. Free trial comes pre-connected infrastructure to get you started faster. Thumbs up. Please note those resources sunset after 24 hours. That's how they're managing part of that, because they just kill it off after 24 hours. That's reasonable.
Fair enough. I mean, that's enough for you. I mean, it's a playground. It's not really a real deal.
Yeah, you can only mine so much crypto in 24 hours. All right, so that's Humanitec. That's all we're going to talk about there.
I just posted you a link. I will be speaking together with them in a webinar a few weeks from now. So if anybody wants to join,
I'll pull it up here. Oh, there you are. Sure enough.
And there is look at the logo, Humanitec, or Humanitec. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Adam's going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be Adam, me, and somebody from
from Humanitec.
From them, yeah.
Yeah. I would say we need to bring Adam back, but you guys fight too much. Even though I want to find out more about their Java operator stuff. That they've been working on. Anyway, okay. So we'll ignore that for now. CDK for Kubernetes. This is from AWS. But this is not AWS specific. Who likes writing YAML? Victor does.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, for infrastructure, yes, I do.
Right.
I admit it.
This is very similar to Pulumi from my perspective. Or there's other languages that do this as well, right? It's that concept.
Yes.
So on the left here, we can see that we're writing this TypeScript thing. And once it gets to a certain point, it generates out the YAML that's associated with the TypeScript that we wrote. Again, there's pluses and minuses to this.
Yeah.
The plus is it's much more terse. 18 lines, 19 lines of code, quote unquote code, can generate a completely stinking ugly piece of YAML. However, the downside is if there's a bug in the CDK and it generates incorrect YAML, you still have to update the YAML.
I mean,
right?
I think that there is a problem. We have a problem with Kubernetes YAML that it's bloated with random stuff that nobody needs. So Kubernetes YAML of Kubernetes core components is a problem. But the solution to that problem is not, in my head, it's not like something like that. The solution is to create new resource types that will be focused more on things that matter and less on things that don't. Like, hey, if that's too much for you, that YAML, use Knative. And I'm using Knative as an example, right? Because Knative really forces you to write only things that matter. And if that same example that we saw in the moment ago was Knative, you would see that actually there would be more lines of TypeScript than Knative YAML. More.
Right. So this is targeted to people that are still trying to do it the hard way. Or maybe you're a vendor. Now, see, this is where I think this could be powerful, is if you are a vendor producing Helm charts or having to produce YAMLs for things, this might make more sense. I'm not saying it does, but I could buy that one a little bit better. You disagree, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's acknowledging the problem. I understand the problem, and I agree with the problem statement. I don't agree with solution. I think that TypeScript is a solution to the bloated YAML problem.
Okay.
And also, one of the things I like about YAML, to be honest, is that it is more likely that I will get wide support inside of a company, an understanding of YAML than of TypeScript, right? Yeah. I can give YAML to everybody, and if you understand what it is, you will understand what it is, right? TypeScript is already kind of eliminating half of my company from understanding even what it is.
Well, this one currently ships with TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, and Java. So it's not just TypeScript.
Yeah, fair enough. So,
but it still gets us into the problem of we're turning something into code that should be just a quote unquote simple YAML file. It should just be declarative instead of being scripted, programmable, whatever. It should just be defined.
And so my question for this tool and tools like that, when I do use manifests, am I going to use directly that TypeScript, or am I going to use? So is the goal to help me write YAML and then I use that YAML, or is it the goal to try and make YAML invisible in a way? Because if the goal is to make YAML invisible, then I simply cannot leverage the wide ecosystem I have around Kubernetes because everything is YAML. I suddenly cannot use Argo CD, I cannot use Flux, I cannot use this, I cannot use that, right? If it's not directly YAML. And if it helps me write YAML, then yeah, okay.
It looks like, so I'm looking here. So you compile the project, and then it creates the YAML for you.
But
and then you would
after
apply
that,
it. Then you apply it.
Yeah, so it's kind of makes YAML invisible in a way.
Yeah.
I would imagine that command above, there should be a command that generates that YAML.
Right.
CDKS synth, I would probably, the goal is probably to pipe this into kubectl apply -- file name dash, I guess.
Yeah. So does that change your feelings any or no?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No. But I might be the old man that is rejecting change.
You could be. I'm 50-50 on it right now. I'm still trying to find where this is the answer. But at the end of the day, all it's doing is generating a YAML file. How many things in the past have we written? How many scripts have we written in the past to generate a file that we then pass into something else? This pattern is nothing new.
It's definitely not anything new, and it's just that one thing is when I do it, because I don't have the power to influence that destination, so I need to maybe do workarounds. But that's not the same thing when we are talking about somebody like AWS. Hey, why don't you create a new resource types in Kubernetes that will do that? So why don't I write YAML instead of 200 lines? Make me write YAML with 20 lines, send it to Kube API, and you transform it into deployment and service and this and that, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I would like that to be happening on server side.
Yep.
Inside Kubernetes.
Basically, it's going back to Knative. Give me a specific DSL that you want me to fill in. I'm going to give you that DSL, and I'll run away.
Exactly. I like that kind of. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't formulate it before, but I'm talking about, hey, create a DSL, create a simpler YAML that will be expanded through custom resources.
Yep. And I'll go back to here. This is pretty good. Victor is everywhere.
Yes, I'm everywhere.
So last week you were very happy about one tool that we showed, which was CloudGram.
Yes, I was. Do you have another one?
I have another one. It's not as cool. It's cool, but not as cool. So it's Python, and it's got code for AWS, Azure. Oh, wait, sorry. Forgot to blow that one up. There we go. It's got code for, or supports AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, Alibaba, and Oracle. And also on-premise. So here is an example, which is still not very good. But write a little Python thing, and there's your drawing. Now, so these are specific in doing these things. There is one that I saw from somebody today that was called, hang on, talk for a second. That was, I know, hang on a second. It was called, sorry, where is it? Blah, 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 blah. Where did you put that, young man?
I have no idea what you're looking for, so
well, it's no, I know it's not you. I'm talking to myself because where did I put it? There was we were having some conversations in the office today about one of these things. I can't remember the name of it. It's a JavaScript thing, but it's more generic. In other words, it's not meant for doing this specific thing.
Okay.
Oh, Mermaid. That's what it was called, Mermaid Js.
Okay.
Which is
so kind of like it doesn't have libraries already predefined something, right?
No, it's more like, so it's that one, Mermaid JS, to where you can create all sorts of generic type things.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right. Which this is still great. I mean, I would still rather be able to use this to create these kinds of things than hand draw them, but we're talking specifically about drawing architecture diagrams.
You know, given that most of us are now, I hope that most of us would be on cloud, and then I realized that that's not true. But
That's not true.
Play with me. Let's say that that's the case. Or most of us draw things for cloud, and we are just, whatever is not cloud is just there, and we don't care about it much anymore. It just exists. But to me, it's very important it has a library of different components, EC2, this and that, right? Because I spend more time trying to find an icon of something than anything else. So generic doesn't work in my case, right?
No. Yeah. I mean, looking just at this one, it's like there's an SQS object, which means it's going to draw the one I want. Great. That's what I want. So anyway, another new tool. Actually, this isn't new, even though it's newish, and there was one other one, but I can't remember what it is. Let me get through these last two tools real quick. If you're on AWS, it's a CLI for doing quota checks. It is a pip install to get it, but it will go through and do all the quota checks for you. How many times have you gone to spin up a handful of new instances, and all of a sudden you've hit your quota limits,
All the time.
and you have to
Absolutely
go
all the
and
time.
yeah. So this is interesting, and this could be an interesting thing to put into either a CI or CD pipe, just so you know where you might be running up against certain
Yeah.
things, just as a
Okay. It's almost
Right.
like do the dry run first.
yep,
Okay. This would be kind of like extended dry run in a way.
right.
Will this really work?
Yeah. Can I even spin up a new set? Let's say you're using, I don't know, whatever it is, and you need to spin up new EC2 instances. And all of a sudden you're at the limit. It's like, well, I don't even need to bother even trying. I just need to go ahead and fail out and then go deal with my limit increase request, or go do a cleanup because I shouldn't be hitting this point anyway. This could be useful for billing. There's a lot of things this could be useful for. So that link will be there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This other one, if you're using Terraform Cloud, there's now a Terraform Cloud CLI. This is also from AWS, which I thought was interesting. And they had a cool picture from Frankfurt for whatever reason. So anyway, same type deal. You can do all this from Terraform Cloud. All right, let's get into your videos for the week because I know we're running up against time. I don't know too many people using Terraform Cloud, to be honest. I know there are people that use it, but I haven't personally run into anybody.
I also never run into anybody, to be honest.
By the way, if you've been watching Victor's videos as of yesterday, day before yesterday,
Yeah. I don't know what you're.
basically now Victor is one of those annoying YouTube people.
Oh, I'm monetized. Yes, I will earn this month $5, maybe 10, 15. I don't know.
So I can't show the cool thumbnails anymore because as soon as I load this up, an ad loads up. So ignoring that, so I'm going to scroll down here just a little bit. Ketch from our friends at Shippa.
Yeah.
You went through all that.
I think it's. I'm not now going to do marketing whether Ketch is great or no, but I think that we badly need something like that. We badly need a simplification layer on top of Kubernetes. And Ketch is one of the potential solutions for that simplification. Or Shippa, to be more honest. Ketch is a fragment of it, let's say, right? The part of Shippa open source. And Shippa has a free plan and a paid plan and all that stuff. But yeah, to me, it's something that I've been very disappointed at for a long time, that we all jumped into Docker train because it's accessible to everybody. Then we switched to Kubernetes because basically Kubernetes gives us what we need. And we did not get even close to having something that makes Kubernetes useful for majority. Kubernetes is still for a very privileged few people who know what they're doing, in majority of cases. And then that few privileged people in a company, they start building platform that will simplify Kubernetes experience for the rest of the company. And I never liked that idea. I never liked the idea of each company building a separate platform, because then you wake up one morning and say, what the heck is this that I have? Now I'm locked into my own mess from which I cannot go out. So we badly need that simplification layer. And that simplification layer would be Ketch, Shippa, Google Cloud Run. What else? In a way, maybe AWS. What's the name that they have? The
Copilot. We're using Copilot.
No. That's not Kubernetes.
Oh, Fargate.
Fargate, yeah, right. Different levels of simplification. Some are simpler, some are more complicated. But I feel that, to me, that simplification layer is the most interesting thing that is going to be happening this year. We have enough of fancy stuff that do new things. Now we need to go back and make it simple for everybody.
Yep. And now's the time, right? Because in theory, Kubernetes, as we start heading into 19, it's boring, right?
Yes. It's boring for those who know what it does, and incomprehensible for those who don't.
Yep. Speaking of things that are incomprehensible, you started in a new series.
You
this
like my
week.
title, The Great Suffering?
Yes. Hey, for some people, Waterfall is still the best option they have. At least it's something.
I would go as far as to say that vast majority of those Agile teams are Waterfall.
Yes.
They're just pretending, faking it.
Yep. So there were 2 videos that came out this week as well. So Victor actually did 3. We had Ketch. We had this one under DevOps Explained called Waterfall, and then the other one was, I believe, Agile. Yes.
Yes.
Which got you on a really good freeze frame there.
Uh-huh.
I caught a good freeze frame of you there because,
That's
again, the ad came up.
authentic.
Yeah. So this DevOps Explained is an experiment. We don't know where it's going. We don't know we don't know anything. Whoops. What happened to my monitor? Well, that's weird. Hang on a second.
Exactly. It's trying to change the theme or the type of videos or what's not, and depending on the response, keep doing that or switch back to the previous formula and then change to something completely different and see whether that works, right? And experimenting, right? And it really depends on how well people respond to that. And it's okay, kind of like it can be a bad response, it can be a good response.
We just want a response.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. I believe that's almost it. Let me double check my notes to make sure we've covered everything. I pulled the one. There's that one. Yep, that is it. So I am still in the middle of editing the podcast for next week. It's going to be a long one, fair warning. Long in comparison. It's less than an hour. It'll probably end up being about 40 minutes when it's all said and done. But a little bit longer than normal. We have a guest on for that one, so because there's no way you and I could talk for 40 minutes. We're too bored. Well, you could by yourself. I think I slow you down.
But that's a good thing.
Yep.
I don't understand. I mean, I record videos alone, and then I put them into Final Cut Pro and then go through them and kind of okay. I don't understand what I'm talking about. I have no idea what I just did. Let me do it again.
I heard somebody talking about this. I don't remember if it was yesterday or whenever. It was some video I was listening to. And the guy said, so do you ever feel like you just black out and you have no idea what you were saying? And you go back and listen to yourself. It's like, who is that? That's what my life feels like right now. It's just... That's my new role keeps me living in front of a editor of some sort, whether it's video or audio. I'm living there. By the way, I love doing the live stream because when we're done and I press end broadcast,
it's finished.
It's from that part of it's finished. There's still about another hour's worth of work to do afterwards, but yeah, it's finished. I don't have to go back through this and spend hours cleaning up. If you're not part of the Slack community, it's scrolling right down below us. Also, our Twitter handles are down there. What's the plan for next week? What are you working on next week? Yeah.
Tentative. I want to go through Scaffold. And
really?
It's kind of like revisiting the old story, let's say, right? I mean, old story. It's not really old, but something that I've been working on in the past. And diving into territories that are where I'm not really comfortable, and that's databases. So there will be, if I have time, and you never know. If I manage, then there will be something about databases in Kubernetes.
We've talked about that before.
Okay.
Why would we want to run a database in Kubernetes? That just seems, especially if you're in the cloud. If you're on premise, there's where we can have the conversation. But if you're in
I
cloud,
see two reasons why not to run database in Kubernetes. First, if you have the option to use database as a service.
right? And
Reason number one.
Yep.
Second, if you have other things that are still pending to move to Kubernetes, that's another reason not to run a database. Because it requires deeper understanding of Kubernetes to run a database than a stateful application, right? A stateless. But if service is not an option, and if you're already ahead in Kubernetes game, then there is no reason why not to run it, right? A long-term goal, I would rather run it in Kubernetes than on VMs, because I have additional benefits. Maybe those are 20% of the benefits I normally get from Kubernetes, or 50, or whatever the percentage is. But still, when it fails, Kubernetes will restart it, right? Or relocate it, or what's not. Now, that also assumes that the database you're running in your Kubernetes is designed to run in Kubernetes or adapted well to run in Kubernetes. So it doesn't apply to every. I honestly don't know, for example, the state of Oracle database. So for all I know, it might be the best option to run in Kubernetes, might be the worst. But if it's not really if it's not redesigned, let's say, not designed, because there are not many. I don't know. Is there a database designed for Kubernetes? Probably not. But adapted well to run in Kubernetes, then why not? If you have to run it yourself.
Yep. Okay. So again, podcast will be out next Wednesday. Join up in the Slack workspace. I still have not reached out to some people. I'm going to see if I can get that scheduled this weekend. Like maybe 10, 15-minute talk just to see what you think about what we're doing here and on the podcast and all the other things, and trying to get a feel of where you would like for us to go. I mean, obviously Victor's always asking for other ideas in his videos, but we're trying to think a little bit broader than just the videos as well. How can we best serve you? So, okay, cool. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Everybody have a great weekend. We will be back next Friday. I haven't looked at calendars yet, so who knows when it is. You'll know on Thursday. Just be watching on the Twitter channel for DevOps Paradox, which is DevOps Paradox, and that's when you'll see it. Or better yet, subscribe right now to YouTube. Oh, before we leave, for everybody that's still here, go ahead and click on that like button. Like, go ahead and go click the thumbs up right now while you're sitting here. Do it while we're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell, do the thing.
We hacked YouTube. We know who you are. I will know if you didn't subscribe.
Yeah,
it's a threat.
That's a trap. Anyway, okay. Vlasov, everybody, Thomas, everybody have a great weekend. We will talk to you again next week. See you, bye. Oh, we came back. Are we back already? Is it next week already?
Yep. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Time travel.
Got it.